Alright guys, very excited to bring you all this video. What we are going to be talking about is the top projected lineups in fantasy baseball. And we know that this is extremely important in that you want players on your fantasy baseball team that should be playing on real life teams that are going to score a lot of runs, because in that case, if they can get on base, they have a better shot at actually scoring from there. And when they go up to the plate, they have a better shot of players being on base for them to load up with some RBIs. So yeah, it's going to be something that you can definitely take advantage of, as well as stacking some of these players in these lineups. Of course, that's going to be what we are talking about. But as always, I want to put the disclaimer out here. No, I am by no means a fantasy baseball expert. So I can't make my own projections. I can't come out here and project exactly what teams are going to score with the most runs. But what I can do is I can go through and take statistics from a fantasy site that I really trust in Fangraphs. All of these projections were brought from Fangraphs. This is not a sponsorship or anything. I just use their numbers, so of course I have to give them their credit. But anyway, before we get into the video, go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. It helps us out so much. And yeah, let's start talking about our number one team that is projected from Fangraphs, and this is going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers with 5.8 runs per game. And I know that sounds like a crazy amount for a projection, and I agree with you there, but pretty much if you look at any betting site at the same time, they all have the Dodgers as the clear favorite, and I know that also has to do with their pitching, but still, I mean, this is a lineup that is absolutely loaded. And if we go through and if we look at the players from this lineup that are being drafted at the very top of your fantasy baseball drafts this year, you have Mookie Betts at number 3 overall, you have Cody Bellinger at 15, you have Corey Seeger at 36, and you have Max Muncy at 94. And now I'll say my favorite player to go out there and try to target out of this lineup in particular is actually going to be Corey Seager at 36. And there are a couple of reasons behind this. We know that he is hitting second in the lineup, only behind Mookie Betts. And with Mookie Betts, we know that he is going to be consistently getting on base. So if Mookie Betts gets on base, Corey Seager then has a better shot at loading up on some RBIs. And Corey Seager at the same time should be a player scoring a crazy amount of runs in 2021 if these projections hold up. Because if we go through and if we look at Corey Seager himself, I mean, he's only 26 years old, so he is not even in his prime yet. He's continuing to progress as a player. And in 2019, he had a 335 on-base percentage. And in 2020, he had a 358 on-base percentage. And now, of course, we've been talking about on-base percentages in 2020, not necessarily meaning as much as they would in other years because the sample size is a lot smaller. But if we kind of assume natural progression from Corey Seager, a player that should get better as he goes into his age 26 season, I think we could possibly be projecting a 360 on base percentage, which is going to be fantastic if you're playing in this lineup behind Betts and in front of some players like Cody Bellinger. And obviously, Mookie Betts and Cody Bellinger are going to far outseed the production you're going to have from Corey Seager at 36. But we understand that at 36, I mean, that is a value. That is a player that you're going to be getting in the late third, early fourth round of your draft. And what I really want to do, if I can, is I really want to try to stack some of these players. Now, how you can do this is you can go out there and draft Mookie Betts at 3 overall. And then on the way back in your third round, you can kind of scoop up Corey Seager. Actually, I'm sorry. You're probably going to have to wait and see if he falls back to you in the middle of the fourth. Now, obviously, this isn't going to happen every time, and it's going to be a lot easier in a 10-team league compared to a 12-team league. But once you make that selection of Mookie Betts with your first overall pick, I think then if you can look to get Corey Seager later on when they're batting 1-2 in the Dodgers lineup, that's going to be something that could really raise your ceiling this fantasy baseball season. All right, so now let's go to our next team, which is going to be the Atlanta Braves, who are also up there in their projections to have 5.7 runs per game. And I will give a couple apologies here. First off, with Freddie Freeman, I came out and I said that I was going to be looking to avoid him in fantasy drafts this year. But I think if you can pull this off, that's going to be fantastic. And that's going to be a stack that you could possibly make with Freddie Freeman, who is currently going around the 12th overall pick, and a player like Ozzie Albies, who is going with the 34th pick. So if you go with Freddie at the end of the first, Ozzie at the end of the third, that's going to make so much sense from a roster construction standpoint, where yes, they're not right next to each other in the lineup like we just saw with Betts and Seeger, but they are pretty damn close. And if this team comes anything close to scoring actually 5.8 runs per game, that's going to be significant. Some other players that we are looking at, obviously, you have a Ronald Acuna Jr., who's going with the first or second pick in your fantasy baseball drafts this year. You also have Marcel, who's going at the 46th pick. And that's another stack that you can make with your first and fourth selection, with Ronald going as the first hitter in the Braves lineup, and then you have Marcel as the third. I think that's going to be something else that if you can pull it off, it's going to raise your ceiling. While yes, it's going to lower your floor. We understand that stacking lowers floors, but it raises ceilings. And personally, it doesn't matter what sport you're playing in, any type of fantasy format, I'm wanting to prioritize raising my ceiling and don't really care too much about lowering my floor if we were going to make that stack. All right, so now our next team is going to be, I don't want to say a significant drop-off, but definitely a drop-off in the projections, going down to 5.4 runs per game. And this is going to be the San Diego Padres. And I know a ton of people are loading up on Padres, such as Fernando Tatis Jr. with the first, second, or third overall selection in their drafts. Manny Machado, a player that I really have talked about wanting to avoid. Then you have Trent Grisham at 66. You have Will Myers at 130 and Tommy Pham at that 130 pick as well. So what I will say here is, while I've talked so much about avoiding Manny Machado where we can, because we like some more third basemen later on in our drafts, and I really don't like the start difference between his 2019 and 2020 season. If you take Tatis with your first pick, I think that's going to be something that we can excuse away in drafting Manny Machado if he falls to the third for you. I know he has an average draft position of 21 overall, which is technically in the late second round. Personally, I can't pay that price. I would be willing to pay a early third round pick if that means we get the stack. So of course, it's going to be a little bit draft dependent. It's going to matter where you are actually selecting in terms of early first, mid first, or late first. But I do not mind getting the Fernando Tatis Jr. stack with Manny Machado, because Tatis is batting second in the lineup, Machado third. So that's just a very nice thing to do to raise your overall ceiling. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. Now, if you want me to make more videos like this, go down and tell me in the comment section below. Let me know what other videos you would like to see. And yeah, I will see y'all in the video tomorrow.